Ladies and gentlemen, Sooky MMA, Standemup, we're back. We started doing some long form prediction videos for Calf Kick Sports. Check those out on their YouTube page. But special news, we're gonna start doing some videos together. A couple short forms. What do you think?
I'm very happy, very excited to be working together. We're starting with UFC 304, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. One of the bigger fights, in my opinion, of this year. Although, like, excitement-wise, it might be a bit down, but this is a very important fight for the division. And I'm really curious about what you think, because I've heard you say that you think that it might be closer than the odds suggest. So I'd like to hear more.
Yeah, I think for the diehards like us, this is probably one of the more anticipated fights we've had in probably years. You can make the joke that were we going to get GTA 6 or this fight first? We didn't really know, but here we are. We got the fight. And the reason I say that is we love using that term, which was coined, I think, I got it from Cody Saftik. I got to give my flowers to the guy where I learned that from. But fighting for your dollar, I mean, that's something that you and I have learned to really find and chase, because that's where you're going to find value, right? Last card, we talked about a couple of people. Cody Gibson's a great example. In this fight, you talk about guys with a 22-3 record like Leon and a 23-3 record like Belal. The best thing about fighters like this is you can tell with every loss, they get better. They learn specifically what they did wrong and they improve. Look at Leon's grappling, his wrestling, defense especially, getting so much better. With Belal, you're seeing the improved boxing. You can see with that Jeff Neal fight, the Vincent Luque fight. Despite him being that decision guy we love to hate on him for, which I don't really mind, that boxing is really helping him find himself as a base. That boxing wrestling base looks really good, and you can tell over the last almost 10 fights, the guy's really put something together.
Yeah, and like you said, the boxing has improved a lot. Like, since the Geoff Neal loss and since the Luque loss, he has been boxing up some people, like Sean Brady, for example, who's looking amazing. Like his last fight against Gaslam, he looked so good, and even in the striking, was looking okay. So Belal Muhammad has been improving, and he has been outstriking some people. But let's be honest, that's not the way he will be able to win this fight. If he wins this fight, which I find pretty unlikely, he will have to use the boxing, but to get inside. He's not going to be using the boxing to outstrike Leon for 5 rounds or knock him out. I don't see that happening at all. What I see is putting him against the cage, or trying to at least, succeeding for a few minutes maybe, but like most of the time I feel like Leon Edwards should be slick enough with the footwork, slick enough with the feints, with the boxing, with the kicking, to where Belal will be kind of, I don't want to say scared, but he will feel threatened enough to stay on the outside and just lose a decision that way. That's how I would say this fight goes.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, because I think what you're saying is, for the most part, Bilal's going to use the boxing to just get Leon on its back foot as best as he can. Like, offensively, he's probably not going to be landing these crazy combos, but he's probably going to throw a bunch of combos to try and get this fight to where he wants it. And I totally agree. And the thing that might scare some people is when you look at his record, Leon Edwards will by far be the best striker he's fought, at least in the most recent years. So I think it's going to challenge him to see how good he is as a striker, especially when it comes to setting up the wrestling. But you said it best, right? Guys like Leon Edwards can use footwork. And now he's improved the defensive side of his wrestling, where, we talked about it in our breakdown of the full card, but that sneaking out the backside that we saw with Colby, that we saw with Kamaru, like, that's some slick work against guys who are considered the best in the division.
Yeah, and in my opinion, Belal doesn't fall under that category of wrestling at all. Like, if you look at the wrestling of Kamaru Usman or Colby Covington, it's at a different level. It's at a whole different level. Belal is good at mixing everything up. He's, I would say, above average everywhere, but he's not elite anywhere. So, and I feel like that's going to be a problem. If you want to beat Leon, I feel like you have to be very good in wrestling or very good in grappling to, once you get him down, because it is possible that he will take down Leon, but he won't be able to do anything with it, because Leon is so slick with standing up and getting out of those positions. Like you said, like when he's getting strike down with the shots, he will try and get like out of there out of the back, and I feel like that he will be able to do the same against Belal. Now, if you had a guy like, let's say, Maya, who once he got you down, it was impossible to get off, I would say, okay, maybe there's a chance, but Belal does not have that type of grappling at all. He couldn't finish Steven Wonderboy Thompson, with all due respect. Wonderboy Thompson has no grappling whatsoever. Zero. He's still, like, I watched it back, that fight, and he was still trying to avoid the takedowns with overhooks, doing like this, bro. You know how bad it is when you're still doing that. You're not trying
100%.
to dig for underhooks, nothing. That's the best way you can defend takedowns. Then that's a problem. But one thing I will say, Leon hasn't really faced anybody that doesn't stop coming forward at all. Normally that would be Covington, but that's just not what happened at all. Belal is the type of guy, he will be in your face the whole time. Now, that matchup is very bad for Leon, but I feel like the quality, there's just a big difference there. I feel like Leon is faster, much better, slicker, and he is good enough in the wrestling and the wrestling defense to be able to defend and just maybe even out-grapple Belal to a decision. Maybe there will be a KO, but if it happens, it will be in the first round, because once Leon is settled in, he's really not looking to risk anything, and he'll just try and cruise to a decision.
And one thing I really like what you said is differentiating Bilal from, say, the Kamarus and the Colbys. And I think one way you can describe it is the control time from Kamaru and Colby, like they can get the takedown and they can try and control from there. What you'll notice with Bilal is his control time technically comes a lot from, like you said, the pressure, trying to get the fight to the ground. So he'll have you in the clinch, he'll have you against the fence. But the time actually spent wrestling and keeping a guy grounded and trying to look for submissions, that's the version we don't really see. And I think that's kind of really bringing your point together of how it's going to be a pressure fight, and it's going to be how easily can Belal eliminate the kicking distance and stay in boxing range. Because on the feet, that's his best chance. And then being able to switch levels, being able to try and get him against the fence, just hold his legs for 3-4 minutes against the fence. Like, that's the style that people tend to boo with Belal.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you differentiate the wrestling style of Kamaru, where it's like power wrestling, getting those single and doubles, like hard fought to the ground. Now, one thing that I do like that you pointed out in favor for Belal here is you look at the way Kamaru strikes. He's gotten better working with the Justin Gaethjes and that team over there in the striking battle, and he's become technical. So the pressure isn't so much there, but his ability to land is really good now. That's where Colby and Belal are a bit better of a comparison because they tend to push forward. Now, Colby and Belal boxing comparison, there might be something there to kind of break down, but we won't waste too much time with that. But you kind of nailed it there, right? Like, eliminate the kicking distance. Now, how well can you try and get this fight to where you want it? And for me, I still think that the line, if we're getting into the betting talk, is just a little wide because of Belal's pressure. I think he can eliminate some of Leon's best work by staying in boxing range with the pressure and how he likes to strike. Now, the changing levels, getting the takedowns, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, you're talking about boxing range, and I do agree, but even in that range, if they stay in that range for the entirety of the fight, still I see Leon winning this with the knees, with the elbows, with the slick boxing, with the head movement. And once again, man, even if it gets taken to the ground 5 times, like once in each round, I still see Leon just standing up or doing enough to where he will still win that round, because he is that good. Like, he was wrestling with Colby easily, and you could make the argument like, hey, but Colby took him down in the last round and Leon couldn't stand up for like last 2 minutes. But if you actually watch it back, you can see that Leon was not trying to stand up because he knew he won that fight. So there was no reason for him to try and stand up and maybe risk making a mistake, getting a rear neck choke in or whatever. He was just chilling there for 2 minutes because he knew that he won that fight. So,
and he wasn't going to get submitted too.
Exactly.
I think that's a big point that you're trying to make. Yeah. It was a lay and pray from the bottom, which is hilarious when you think about it, right?
Yeah, we've seen so many times that Leon can just stand up, even in pretty bad positions against Kamaru Usman, who's a much better grappler than Belal.
And size. I don't want to interrupt you here, but size, like that's the other thing is Kamaru's a really
Huge,
built welterweight. Yeah.
huge. He's basically the same length as Belal, but bigger. And like he had him in some bad positions, even in the second fight, to where you're like, most people, most fighters wouldn't be able to stand up there, but Leon did with, with ease. Let's be honest. He stood up and got out of some very hard positions with ease, and I just don't see how Belal will be able to hold him down when a guy like Kamaru couldn't. So overall, I feel like Leon is just much better, much better. It's just the matchup that's bad. It's a bad matchup for Leon because his cardio is good, but it's good because he paces himself so well. I feel like if you have him in a dogfight and if he fights with you like 100% power, he won't have as good of cardio as he has right now. It's just his pacing is very, very high level.
You can make the argument that he realized that against Nate Diaz. Because he was really trying to throw with Nate Diaz, then come fifth round, he realized, oh, Nate Diaz has the gas tank of an absolute zombie. Like he's gonna take all the shots and come forward, and you can kind of see. We just talked about it, right? Like these guys, like they're so elite because their ability to learn, even in wins, their ability to learn where they might have made mistakes and get better. You sniped it, man. Like his cardio against Kamaru twice and a Colby. Think about the guys we're talking about too. We talked about the defensive wrestling and the ability to get up against a guy like Kamaru, and then going 5 rounds with Colby, right? Like that, cardio-wise, that's a great feat. So everything that you're saying really lines up. I just think cardio-wise, I really believe that just for the way we're kind of talking about Leon's cardio leading into these, say, the 4 wins that he has in the last little bit, the improvement is definitely there. And for him to be able to show that off against a guy like Colby with that striking game, I mean, he looks really good, bro. He looks great, to be honest.
So the only thing I would say about the Colby fight is Colby didn't put the pressure on Leon at all. So
yeah, he was too scared. He looked scared in that fight, to be honest.
He did. Yeah, exactly. And that was because of the kicks. And you saw his leg, bro. Like after 1 or 2 rounds, it was all blue. It was all bruised. And I feel like not a lot of people talk about how the first fight between Leon and Belal went. Leon was winning that so easily.
I was just gonna say that, bro. Keep going. Like that's exactly where I was gonna go with that.
Okay. Perfect. If you are, continue.
No. I want you to. It was the same thing. Just the way you saw the striking battle happen, and it resulted in an eye poke, right? Like he was truly winning that fight
easily. Like he even landed the head kick, like the left high kick. He landed that. Now Belal ate it, but it wasn't like a perfect shot, but he ate it. And like besides that, Leon was doing everything he wanted, like with the feints, with the kicks, with the strikes. They went up against the cage and Leon got out of there easily as well. And Leon has gotten much better since. Now, so has Belal, but I feel like Belal has gotten better in ways that won't help him as much versus Leon, while Leon has gotten much better in the wrestling, which will help him a lot versus Belal.
And one thing that you just brought up that I think is something that we're not even talking about much, or we don't hear people talk about, the leg kicks. You brought up the leg kicks from Leon Edwards, and I think the low kick battle is so dominantly on Edwards' side. Because you look at, I just took a quick look at Belal's recent stats, and over the last 3 fights, I mean, he's thrown less than 5 leg kicks. Thrown less than 5, let alone land. He's thrown less than 5 to come, like in all these fights. So I think that might be the difference maker now that we're kind of reviewing the fights that we've just seen from both guys. I mean, Leon throwing a solid, low kick game at Belal, who's trying to push forward, stay in that boxing range and try to find takedowns. I mean, that is a very good angle to be considering Leon Edwards the winner of this fight. I mean, technically speaking, he hasn't beat in a lot of areas.
In most areas, the only way I see Belal winning is with the pressure, is with the cardio, and that's it. But I really don't see Leon losing there because, as I said, he paces himself well and his cardio is still good. It's not as good as Belal's, but it's still pretty good. So I really don't see. And it's not like Belal has some insane pace. I feel like people, that's a big misconception about Belal, that he has some insane pace, that he is like freaking Justin Gaethje or whatever, just a random name to throw out there, Tony Ferguson in his prime, but not at all. He actually is, pretty average. He just pressures a lot, goes forward. He showed against Burns that, like, even with a one arm Burns, like, he didn't really do anything. So I got Leon probably by decision, because after round 1, round 2, he just settles in and just cruises to the decision without taking many risks. I hope for a finish, but I don't really see it happening.
I totally agree with that last point there. And just to kind of back you up a little bit, just by looking at some stats, when you look at the guys that Belal has been able to dominate with the takedowns, Vincent Luque, Stephen Thompson, he couldn't get Damian Maia down. He didn't land a takedown in that first fight, even though it was only, a round and a bit. There is a lot of holes there when you're comparing fight. I mean, MMA math is what it is, but when you really break down fight by fight, it's opportunistic chances, right? Where the matchup really works in Belal's favor a lot of the time with the type of guys that we've seen in the division. Now he's truly taking on a championship level fighter, and if you can look at his record, I mean, this is the best fighter he's going to face in his career.
For sure, 100%. So what's your final verdict for this fight?
Final verdict is 100% Leon. I do like the idea for the decision, which is actually going to take me into a couple points that I want to throw at you after. I will stand with, if you're getting Belal at plus 300, I still think that's a relatively, that's a pretty solid line. But at the same time, like, the more we break it down, the more you can see why that line is the way it is, because the paths to victory are so limited. So, something I want to throw at you that we've talked about over the last few fights, and a stat that I really enjoy kind of putting my money on, significant strikes. So, would you be willing to take a guess on where the significant strikes are for both fighters?
I would think that it's about 80 for Leon and about 50 for Belal.
My man. So you got 84.5 for Leon and 70.5 for Belal. So my point is that we could find some real value here based on how we're breaking down Leon. When you go to his past fights, especially when he doesn't have to worry about the takedown so much and he can stand up. So if he avoids the takedowns, I mean, we're seeing 77 Nate Diaz when we just said, he learned that his cardio was kind of draining towards the end. But you look at the next few, I mean, the Kamaru fight, 5 takedowns, so he didn't really have the chance to operate. But the following Kamaru fight, even though he got taken down 4 times, 120. The Colby fight was a lot of trying to avoid the pressure, he got 57. So it's like one of those things where, based on how we're predicting the fight, that 84.5, with both these guys trying to stand and strike, might not be so bad. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you never know with the game plan that Belal would come with, but with Khabib, like, training him and everything, I don't see that being a good number. I feel like it would be under. That's just me. If it stays so standing, for sure.
Yeah. So based on how we're predicting the fight, you would say the under at 70.5 and the under at 84.5 makes a bit more sense to you.
I would definitely look into the 84.5, but what Belal, it's kind of tricky. 70s, I would say under as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I totally agree with you. I think the 84 is where my head was at, just looking at Leon's previous fights and the way we're breaking this fight down. A Leon decision win, to me, I think that 84.5 gets smashed, because it's going to come with the lack of takedowns from Belal, the lack of control time from Belal. And you said it best, right? I think we talked about the leg kicks, but the Muay Thai that Leon can throw at him in that close range, it puts the boxing range off a little bit, right? Because now Leon can come a little closer and try to get those knees in there, get some elbows in there. So that stuff could really add up. And then we're talking about leg kicks, right? So that's where the 84 kind of stood out to me the most, just based on what we've seen from Leon in the past and the way we're breaking down the fight. So I think we're on the same page there. And it's going to be hard for Belal to get to his 70.5 based on, Leon's movement, footwork, all that kind of stuff. So I totally agree.
For sure. So that was about everything I wanted to talk about in this matchup. If you have something else to add, let's hear it. If not, we'll end this. little
Yeah,
video
I mean, I
like
think
this.
we're good there. At the end of the day, I think we're going to be kind of ear to the ground when it comes to the betting lines and stuff like that. So if we find anything we like, check out Instagram. We'll probably post something there.
For sure, for sure. Oh, there's one thing I would like to discuss, if we have time anyway. So Islam versus Arman is going to be happening in October, and Leon versus Belal is happening this weekend. So what I would think is that the next matchup is going to be between Islam if he wins and Leon if he wins. Now, what do you think? Who wins that matchup between Islam and Leon?
I think Islam's got that. The version of Islam that we saw against Dustin Poirier, uh, the decision making, the IQ that I saw from Islam is on a different level now. He was able to find some opportunistic areas where I just don't think Leon is as elite as he needs to be, where he's really good, where he needs to defend Islam for 5 rounds. You know, even with Poirier being able to clip him a little bit and touch him a little bit, I just think that he's going to be able to overwhelm Leon Edwards. Well, a lot better than anyone we've ever seen in the past.
I disagree. I feel like that last fight showed me at least that he is beatable. He had a pretty hard time taking down Dustin Poirier, who is not known for the takedown defense at all. He was getting touched up at some points as well. And with Leon being bigger, him being the much better striker, better kicker,
And faster. I agree.
faster probably, yeah, and like dangerous, bro. Like say whatever you want, he is dangerous. Like if you come in like crazy, he will knock you out. He has good takedown defense. He has very good stand-ups. His grappling is good. And like with his size and what I feel like Islam's cardio is for like an elite fighter. It's above average for sure. But you saw in the fifth round he was tired, bro. Now, it was a gritty, like a very hard fight for sure. But him moving up, like that's much more weight, much more muscle. He's going to be struggling with it, man. I feel like Leon. I really feel like Leon will win that matchup.
That's a great take. I just think that the way we've seen the Khabibs and the Islams of the world fight over the course of 5 rounds, it would not be surprising to me to see Islam walk away with a submission win there. And the
No,
only reason I say that is I think that in terms of paths to victory, I think you're 100% right. I think you could break it down in the sense that Leon has a very good chance to win the stand-up battle, but if Islam can get that control time, his ability to control, similar to the way Dustin Poirier described Khabib, it's different. I do believe it can be different, and their ability to find those spots transitioning on the ground is like nothing we've ever seen. And I think that comes with the IQ that they have, and it's like that the way he grabbed Poirier's heel towards the end of that fight. It's just like the quickness of thinking like that at that level so late in a fight. I just don't think those are things you can teach. And when I'm seeing Leon Edwards make decisions where he gets clipped by Nate Diaz in the 5th round, uh, we talked about how he was dominated by Kamaru but got the finish at the end. He's looked great in the last 2 fights, but I just think that Islam compared to those is going to be a completely different animal.
that makes sense, and we will have to wait and see. And Islam is a huge guy for lightweight, so maybe he will look different and very good at welterweight. We never know. Now, I'm still going to be picking Leon, not confidently, but I feel like he will have the advantage there.
Mm-hmm.
Balal is saying that Islam won't fight him if he's a champion, but I'm pretty sure Islam already said like whoever's the winner, I'm next. So like I feel like Bilal doesn't know that Islam just wants to fight him. He sees themselves as brothers, but it's kind of awkward there. But like
Yeah, and the other thing about that one is Bilal's gonna have to prove himself a little bit before he gets that fight. Like Leon's earned that fight with say 4 straight title wins. He's earned the shot to take on Islam and kind of that super fight. But Bilal, I don't think so.
I mean the one has to earn it is the guy that's moving weight classes, right? I mean the champ is just defending his belt.
Mhm.
So it's not about earning. Like I get what you mean that Bilal doesn't really have the name yet, so that would make sense.
Mhm.
but like earning wise, I feel like the guy that's moving up or down has to earn it.
You know what's funny though? Now that you're bringing up that side of things, which I mean, I was still kind of siding with that point when I said that. But the funnier part about it is the UFC would 100% schedule Islam against Bilal in his first ever defense of his belt. You know,
Just
he
have him
would be
out
the
of there.
unlucky guy to get his. Yeah. It's so sad because you know he's earned a shot to at least try to defend the belt, but to get Islam as the first fight is kind of wild.
Bro, I would see it, bro, for 100%. 100%. But
Funny thing, you brought up that fight. I mean, I thought my most anticipated fight was going to be Max's next fight, but I gotta say, when I look at the cards that are coming up, I think the Islam. If you're a true fan and a true lover of the technical side and understanding what these guys got to do to be great, that Arman Islam fight is truly special. I can't stop thinking about that one purely from a, you know, when you're trying to think about a fight and you can't help but just figure out, oh, what's this guy gonna do? What's that guy? And you just, it's a constant mental battle. Those are the fights, in my opinion, that will always stick with you. Pre-fight, during the fight, post-fight, it's always gonna have that vibe.
yeah, that fight's going to be so good, bro. Like Islam versus Arman is such a good fight. Such a good fight. And I really think that Arman has a good chance to win there, bro. I really believe that this is a pretty 50-50 matchup. So I'm talking about Leon versus Islam, but that's just a random thought. I feel like
Because we
Arman,
are doing a Bilal Leon video. But
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you're right.
Yeah, but I really feel like Islam has a problem on his hands with Arman. Arman is good. The cardio is good. He can match the wrestling. He can match the grappling, in my opinion. The striking is 50-50, but I don't know. I feel like Arman might have something up his sleeve. He's good. He's very athletic. And I feel like there's just something about him that I really like in the matchup versus Islam. I'm not sure what it is, but there's something I really like here.
I think it's his ability to grind for wins. I think Arman has shown the ability to really kind of deal with the storm. You know, in most of his fights, he looks. You know, people might boo. He's the kind of guy you might hear the not so super fans like us boo a little bit because his will to win is so high. He just has such a will to win, and he'll do whatever it takes to get there. He doesn't care about the boos. He doesn't care about anything like that. But when you're fighting at this level, with these killers, I mean, you got to do what you got to do to win, bro.
For sure, for sure. It's going to be a great fight, but we'll talk about it later.
You know we will.
For sure. But this is the end. I think if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. If not, we'll end it like this.
Let's sign off because we'll be back soon.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yes, sir.
Perfect, bro.
How long was that? Got to be 20 minutes.
Almost 30.